It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Christian Yaste. Like toothpaste, DDS, he is passionate about using technology and finding cost-effective solutions for dentists and patients. He has spent his entire career as a student of patient attraction strategies and communication skills for case acceptance. His greatest accomplishment and what he is most proud of is having been part of the development of an insanely awesome and successful dental team and practice culture. Career highlights include practicing general dentistry in Charlotte, North Carolina, adult dental practice focused on cosmetic, sedation, and implant dentistry. Graduate of the University of Michigan School of Dentistry 96. 2-year GPR at Carolinas Medical Center in Charlotte. Founder and partner of Ballantine Center for Dentistry and Charlotte Dental Implant Solutions. He's a key opinion leader for everyone. I mean, Keystone Dental, Comet USA, which was I think Comet, his brother was Brasler. Those were related back in the day. Preview, imaging software, Dental Cool, Top Dental Products, faculty product development and clinical instructor for Chrome Glidewell, founder of Next Generation Learning, a teaching and sharing platform on Instagram, Implant Compare, and he's a big-time national speaker. No, you laughed at the Comet deal. Did you know that him and Brasler were related?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting story when you first start working with Comet. They make sure that they tell you that they're actually Brasler in Europe. They're one of the biggest burr manufacturers in the world, or the biggest. But in the United States, they had that drama that happened years ago, and now they had to separate off and call themselves Comet. So it's a great company, though. I really enjoy working with them.
They were brothers, though, weren't they? Didn't one brother come to America and the other one stayed back in Germany with Comet?
You know, if that's the story, then I haven't heard that version. The version I heard was a little different.
Well, you know what? Peter Brasler, that's the guy you wanted to go with after the convention. That guy could drink you under a table. He was so damn fun. But it reminds me of the other one. Remember Adolf Dassler left, and his brother Rudolf Dassler led to Adidas and Adidas and Rudolf to launch Puma. So that was another two brother things from Germany. So at the end of World War II, you couldn't really have a company named Adolf, so Adolf Coors went to just Coors, and Adolf Tennis Shoes, his nickname was Audi, and his last name was Dassler, so he changed that to Adidas. And his brother Rudolph, with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, survived World War II, but he named his company Puma. So anyway, we got sidetracked on the Puma brothers. But so how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Howard.
This was a much better Super Bowl for you than watching when the Panthers were playing that really old guy. Who was that guy in a wheelchair for the Broncos? Eli Manning, where everybody said that the guy was too old and your quarterback was so young and so hot and he could, oh my God, and then he just dropped the ball in the deal. I was thinking about that game. So what are you, I want to start by throwing you under a bridge. All the kids who walk out of dental school, they're 25, they got $400,000 in student loans. They look at a couple old farts like us and say, yeah, you guys got out in the good days. Now look at us. When you went there, what was tuition when you went to dental school? Was it $1.85 a year, or had it cost $2?
If that.
And so what would you say to someone who's 25 with $400,000 of student loans who graduated from dental school an hour ago, and she's saying that you had it easy and she's not going to have it easy? What would you say to her?
I would say that we had it different. Did we have it easier? I mean, it depends on how you look at it, but I'll tell you, Howard, I am not jealous of these kids coming out of dental school right now. We have an associate that has $400,000 worth of debt. And my debt was close to about 60, and that included undergrad when I got out of dental school. So I work with a group of dentists that are 1 to 5 years out of dental school. It's a mentoring group, and this always comes up. And I don't know. I think the most important thing for us to do is listen, and then help them find solutions to their problems, and hopefully provide value to them in what we're doing in dentistry, so that they don't get caught up in a corporate world where they're not getting the right, mentoring and coaching and things like that. I think that's what I worry about more than anything, is not them being able to pay their bills back, because as well as I do, you can make good money in dentistry. But if you don't never learn how, and you're not around the right people and you're not networked, then it makes that difficult.
Seriously, I got to tip my hat to you, man. I love dentists who want to spend their entire career. I mean, I get it, patient attraction strategy, because that's when you want to talk about marketing, every dentist wants to learn about marketing, because that's the drug they get hooked onto. You don't have to extend your hours. You don't have to take their insurance. You don't have to be nice. You don't have to do anything right if your customer doesn't come back, if you keep getting new patients. And but when you also have focused your whole life on communication skills for case acceptance, and that I don't understand, because the dentist tells you they don't want to sell dentistry. I mean, you're teaching a subject where they say, hey, excuse me, sir, Christian, I don't want to learn this. I don't want to present treatment. I didn't go to school 8 years to be a salesman, and so just shut up. And then you decide, no, I'm gonna spend my whole life teaching stuff that dentists scream at me that they don't want to know. What was your next best idea? when you decided you were going to do that, I mean, what was your second best idea? Just to mow lawns for free on Saturday?
Boy, I wouldn't want to do that.
So they and I don't get it, because when your 4 kids have turned into 5 grandkids, you start realizing that someday you're going to die, and when your grandkids go to a dentist, I mean, if they go to me and I tell your 5 grandkids they each got a cavity and they all leave and no one gets it filled, and they go to you and you tell them they each got a cavity and they all decide to open up their wallet and get it fixed, well, then you're an infinitely scale better dentist than I am. And the guy that didn't get the case acceptance, he can say, well, I got my MAGD, FAGD, and who gives a GD? I mean, my gosh, there's no dentistry if you can't sell it.
Right. To me, it's more about leading people and letting them decide, but you have to lead them and influence them down the right path. And it's much less about selling. So, I was really fortunate and met some great mentors very early on in my career that helped me with that and guided me through that process of how to communicate with people. And that's one of the reasons my partner and I were very successful in our practice, is because we didn't convince people they had a problem, convince them that they needed to have dentistry done. We were more of their advisor. We act more as a guide, and then that way people don't feel pressured and they end up doing what you recommend.
So where do you think that comes from, of dentists just saying, I mean, they don't even track their case acceptance rate. I mean, they don't even track this. And when I tell them any benchmark stuff, I mean, where does that come from in healthcare? That, I mean, I would think that if I was on the front line of this coronavirus, they're all measuring it. How many people, how many patients, how many people got treatment, with the Ebola virus, I mean, during the Super Bowl, I wouldn't even drink Corona beer. I only drank Ebola beer during the whole Super Bowl. But where does it come from in dentistry that you don't want to tell someone they have a disease?
I don't know. I mean, we're not trained that way. At least I wasn't in dental school. I mean, the old way of thinking is like, I'm the dentist, what I say you should do because I've got this education. And I know a lot of dentists that have that chip on their shoulder that never managed to flick it off. But the patients don't care anymore. They don't care who you are, because they can go online and to the internet and find, different things that will solve their problem, or pick whichever dentist that has the best ratings or rankings. So you don't have the same sort of power over these new, the newer generations. The older individuals would do whatever their doctor said. Millennials and what comes next, they think for themselves. They're not going to do it just because you have a DDS behind your name or all those other initials.
Yeah, and I had some really, really interesting dentists over the years tell me that they think the millennials are so different. I mean, there's so much evidence that millennials going to the dentist is different than boomers because boomers didn't have fluoride in the water and fluoride toothpaste and lost, by if you're 64 years old in the United States, you have 10% of zero teeth. If you're 74, 20% of zero teeth. And they've all had tons of root canals, fillings, and crowns. A lot of this was failed, and they all know what extreme dentistry is and that some of this stuff fails by some doctors. Then the millennials come along with fluoride in the water and fluoride in the toothpaste, and they just had sealants and a couple fillings. And when you listen to them talk by researchers, it's like if a 65-year-old says, "Oh my God, you hear Henry had a heart attack? Oh, where did they take him? Please don't tell me they took him to this one or that one or Chandler. Did they go to Mayo or did they go to the Arizona Heart Institute? All this stuff." But millennials are like, if someone says their appendix rushed, well, did they get to the hospital? I mean, they just assume that all hospitals can fix an appendix. I mean, didn't you go to doctor school for that? Isn't it a hospital? So they have such less intense dentistry that it's become a commodity. So the boomers did so good at emergency medicine and dentistry that now the people that follow us just think a hospital's a hospital's a hospital. I mean, they're all the same, right? I mean, if your appendix ruptures or you have a baby or a heart attack, isn't every hospital the same? And there's good data for that by the DSO boys showing that the millennials are loyal to themselves and they want to office 7 to 7, 7 days a week that takes their insurance, whereas the boomers are all like, are you sure that little kid knows how to do a root canal? So it's very, very different. So what are you most, there's so many things I could talk to you about. I mean, my gosh, I seriously don't even know where to begin with you because you're on the inside information on so many of these. You work with so many companies that you're access to information. Do you want to start with Dental Cool Pioneers? I mean, well, basically, here's the websites. You got Ballantine Dentistry. You got Charlotte Dental Implant. You got Dental-Cool. You got Patient Magnet System. You got Chrome Guide Smile. You got ESPN.com. I had no idea you owned ESPN.com. Okay, so where do you want to start? No, it was one of my browsers.
Let's start with Denticool because they're actually the ones that reached out to you, I think, to get me on this podcast. And I found this company.
I emailed you. But anyway,
you did.
Go on.
Oh, okay.
I did. That was all me. Don't fire some guy at Denticool over it. Just
okay. The
don't demote him over this.
I talked to a friend of mine who's a marketing and he works with a lot of corporations within dentistry, and he's introduced me to a lot of these companies. And about 2 years ago, he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of this thing called Denticool?" And I said, "No, what is it?" And he goes, "Man, you should check this thing out. It looks really wild, but it's like an air conditioner for your mouth." I'm like, well, give me the contact information. So I called them and I talked to I think it was the COO at the time. I said, "Are you guys in the dental space?" He said, "Well, no, we've actually just started to get into this. We've been in the chemotherapy space for a long time, helping cancer patients, oral cancer, or patients that have oral mucositis during cancer treatments." I said, "Well, send me over some product. Let me take a look at it." So I get this thing in the mail. I'll show you what this thing looks like. This is it. It's just a kind of a handle grip, and it's on the inside, it has water, and on the outside, it's saline. So you put this thing in your mouth, and it's got these holes in it. Anyway, you put it in a freezer, and I gave it to a patient. We do a lot of all-on-4 surgery in our practice, and I gave it to an all-on-4 patient. I said, "Listen, I know this is a big surgery. I want you to use this little mouth conditioner, this air conditioner for your mouth, this cryotherapy device, and let me know what you think." So 3 days later, he comes back for his post-op, and he says, I said, "Well, how many opioids did you have to take?" I give them the Lortab, and they get the ibuprofen and all this stuff. He says, "Doc, I only took it that one day. I didn't have any problems after that." I'm like, "Well, what do you think created that? Are you just good with pain?" He says, "No, I think it's that little device you gave me." So I called the company back. I said, "Give me a bunch of these things. I want to do a little clinical trial in my office with this." And so I've seen about 50 patients now that have used it, and I've followed up with them. I do before, like, post-ops with them, and I go through some questions. And I've been really surprised that every single one of the patients that used this has said that they thought that it was of some value to them. So some people not as much, but everybody without exception said that they thought it helped. So if you compare that to the bag of peas on face.
It was one of those moments, I always call it a flathead moment, where you slap your head like, why didn't I think of that? I mean, obviously,
Right?
we always tell people to put ice packs on their wounds.
Yeah.
And I was the proud, honored guy to be sitting at a bar one night for like 3 hours with these dentists arguing that one was cold was better, one was warm was better. One guy was saying that there was no difference in research. It was just a change in temperature. But basically, this is just an ice pack for the inside of the mouth. I mean, it seems pretty obvious now that it's
I'll tell
out.
you what, I don't, it's one of those things where I thought, why didn't I invent this? You know, because on the outside, I found a guy online who'd done the most research with cryotherapy and dentistry. And I don't remember his name. He was a real cranky old dude, though, from somewhere in the Northeast. And I called him. I said, have you ever heard of this thing? He goes, no. He says, listen, ice only penetrates through 15 millimeters, and there's nothing that will cool the mouth off. You can do something on the outside, but this is a dead field. And I said, man, you should really check out this thing. He's like, nah, I'm not interested. Okay. But I mean, I've had really good success with it. I think it is one of those things where you got to figure out how to make it either profitable or how to, manage that part of your practice, because it does cost about $59 a unit to buy this. So you have to build it into the surgical fee, or you have to just create goodwill.
How much does it cost?
It costs $59 for the dentist to buy this and the little koozie and all the other stuff that comes with it.
You know who told me about it and told me to get you on the show? Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, Michelle is she's big time with them.
Yeah, she's the one. And I think she's got a thing for bald men.
Well, that would explain why she wanted to talk to me.
But thanks, Michelle. That was the good deal. That is so Dental Cool Pioneers. Do you call that a well, here's an interesting. I'm going to say this carefully. I know my dental peeps, right? I know counties. I know them. They don't like holistic stuff. That's just a bad word. That's a fighting word. They're nut jobs wax. But I know in marketing that when you say that you're holistic, it's really good marketing. And when I listen to dentists, they're holistic, because when you hear an old fat dentist have a heart attack, he doesn't start saying, I want to take a bunch of pills. He says, I want to lose weight and exercise and all the holistic stuff, right? So dentists are always holistic. They want to try to do things. They don't want to be on polypharmacy and all this kind of stuff. But would you call this a holistic approach?
I would call it.
Or is that a dirty word? Is that a dirty word where you're at in Charlotte?
Not necessarily, but I think you're right. I think it carries a little stigmatism, because then we start thinking about these giant vacuum units that we are supposed to be using to take amalgam out, and some of the other stuff that a hardcore holistic dentist might buy into. And I'm not one of those guys, but I do think that we need to look at alternatives, and we need to consider, especially with the, this opioid, crisis, quote unquote, that we're in. Nobody's going to argue that it's better for people not to be taking those drugs.
Why did you say quote unquote? Because I believe the opioid crisis is like everything. It's an extreme exaggeration. I mean, all these cases of opioid overdose, they never overdose from Vicodin. They usually have 6 things in their bloodstream, including marijuana and meth, and like Whitney Houston. I mean, she had 6 different things in her bloodstream. I don't see anybody that just like, oh, what did he die of? Oh, he just died of Vicodin from Walgreens. I just never hear that. And then when I go back through history, when the British got to China, the reports are the lowest reports are that 10% of all of China just laid around and smoked opium, and the high reports are 30%. I'm pretty sure 10% of Arizona isn't laying around smoking opium. So, so it seems like it was a lot worse 200 years ago, and it's a lot better today, but that doesn't sell newspapers. If it bleeds, it leads. So continue with the opioid crisis. Breaking news.
And that's kind of what. Yeah, that's kind of why I call that. I'm not trying to, say that we're not that dentists shouldn't be more careful. But now I don't know if you are, but I'm required every year to take a class for an hour of CE that has the only one thing, and it's just about opioids. And the class is the same thing for the last 3 years. I've heard the same thing, so I get it. But I think, politically,
the weirdest thing about that class is? You know what the weirdest thing about that class is? Every time I take that class, my dealer's in the class too. That's a
Thank
joke.
you.
That's a joke. But yeah, it's I love history, and it's okay. If you're gonna say something, just say it, but don't exaggerate it. There's no opium crisis. Even though you talk about 50,000 opioid deaths last year, really in a population of 325 million. I mean, that. I mean, you had more suicides than that. So so anyway, but I understand it. Media, they got to try to get you to click the lead. But the thing I would be more worried about, though, seriously for me, is the taking the Tylenol and the opioids. I mean, because I actually have a friend whose next door neighbor took 2 grams of Tylenol for a hangover. And she had enough alcohol in her bloodstream, and 1 gram is the max, and she lost her liver and died. I'm really creeped out about acetaminophen. But you think this will reduce acetaminophen, ibuprofen, paracetamol, all the stuff?
I mean, in my practice, that's what I've seen is as we've handed it to patients, is they've reduced their whatever drug that they're using for discomfort or pain or inflammatory response or whatever. So, it makes sense. We use, if you were to get a cut on your hand, you'd put a bag of peas on it or ice pack to reduce the blood flow, and just keep the swelling down and all that. And we both know that, swelling causes discomfort, and these people have surgery in their mouth, they're going to get swelling. So if you can put the cold directly on there, it just makes sense. And that's what I've found in my practice with using it. So I'm a big fan. I really like it. I think it's a great product. It's a niche product, and it's something new, so it's kind of cool. But also, those are the type of things that sometimes take a while to catch on.
The patient I feel sorry for the most, I really think it is the oral cancer survivors. They've been beat up by radiation, burns, mouth, and sometimes they tell you, dude, it hurts to swallow water. And and that was the origins of this product, right? It was designed by a cancer survivor.
Yeah, the guy who invented this I think he had lymphoma, and he was either getting a stem cell transplant or something. But he went through the severe mucositis, and he couldn't believe that there wasn't something on the market that dentists or doctors had invented to cool off his mouth. So he went to the drawing board, and this guy's an entrepreneur, and he came up with this idea. And they first approached the medical industry with it, and went straight to the oncologists, and it's been received very, very well in that area. And during my residency, I remember treating these stem cell transplant patients, and it was just awful. The mucositis. I mean, the whole lining of their mouth would just disappear overnight during these things. So anything we could do to help them, but sucking on ice chips only goes so far. It's not something people can do. So this is an easy thing they can put in their mouth. And even I had a patient just recently that was going in for a very rare type of cancer. And I said, listen, before you go into the hospital, you come and see me, and I'm gonna get one of these units, because when you go in there, you may not have access to anything, and you're going to need this, and it'll help you. So
I want to switch gears completely, because you're a humble guy, but you're a really famous guy. I mean, you're most of the.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, I mean most of the.
You're a famous guy.
I'm only a legend in my own mind, and but almost all the cosmetic dentistry and dental implant procedures popularized on Extreme Makeover, the doctors. I mean, you were the doc doing that.
Well, we started a practice. I went from residency into a managed care platform for 3 years, worked for a managed care company. And I kind of found out what I didn't like. I kind of found out what I didn't like about dentistry. So my partner and I have known each other since the 8th grade, believe it or not. So my partner, Joe, and I have been together for a long time. And my business partner, I should say. And he and I decided, listen, we could do this on our own and we can do it better. And in 19 or 2000, we started working on our business plan. And then by 2001, we started the practice here in Valentine in Charlotte. And we just decided, we're not going to deal with insurance. We're not going to deal with the stuff we don't want to do. We're just going to go nuts and do what we want to do. And it was a bold move, but thank God we did it that way. I just said I'd never want to shake hands with a dental insurance company after working for that HMO. And we do help people maximize their dental benefits, and we accept assignment now and do some things like that to help patients. But I have stayed clear of signing up with any insurance companies just for personal reasons. Not that I think it's wrong, but it offered us an opportunity to explore some parts of dentistry that by doing marketing, it forced us to market. And by marketing, we were able to open the doors to procedures that were like cosmetics and implants. And I've always done sedation since I started.
It's the biggest mystery to me in the world when you tell a dentist, okay, half of America doesn't have dental insurance. Why don't you spend 5 cents of every collected dollar and go market to find those guys? And they go, nope. And then the other half has dental insurance. They say, hey, if you sign up with us, you have to lower your fees a third. I'm like, okay, where do I sign? It's like, so you'll lower your fee a third for half, but you won't spend 5% on marketing for the other half. And you obviously learned addition and subtraction in grammar school, and you decided that you were going to just spend 5% on advertising and go after the half that doesn't have dental insurance?
We spent a lot more than that, but
you spend more than 5% of collections. What do you actually spend?
It's closer. Like last year was probably closer to about 7% on our marketing budget.
Okay, so 7%. And what do you think the average dentist in Charlotte who signs up for all the PPOs? What do you think their average fee reduction is from their original stated price?
Way more than we end up doing on our.
For the country, it's 41%. So when I got out of school, the highest overhead was, labor was 20 to 25, lab was 10, supplies were 5. Now number one cost is a 41% adjusted production from your fee schedule to the PPO fee schedule, and then 25% labor, 8% lab, 6% supplies, 5% facility. So the number one expenditure in dentistry didn't even exist when I was in school, when I got out of school.
Yeah.
So, so you decided to, talk us through your journey. How did you get to be the guy for Extreme Makeover and the doctors?
Well, actually, we started when Extreme Makeover came out. We were doing a lot of the same procedures that were offered there, and we started marketing ourselves like that. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I got a call from the doctor's show. And I thought it was a prank call, but I get a call, and I'm down in Florida with my daughter at I don't know, it wasn't Disney World, but it was some other little theme park. And this gal goes, hey, I want you to be on the doctor's show. We have a patient that lives in Charlotte. And I said, yeah, right. And I was really tempted to hang up with her, but I stayed on the phone, and I ended up calling her back, and sure enough, it's the doctor show. So there was a gal in Charlotte that was severe bulimic, and they were looking for somebody to help her. And we had the opportunity to help this gal get her whole mouth completely redone. We used dental implants and FP3 to treat her, and it was miraculous. She was just a wonderful story. We had a documentary made on it. It was great. But I think we got there basically because we weren't afraid to try new things. And I'm kind of the guy that if you tell me to do something and you're really successful at it, then I just do it. and I don't try to reinvent the wheel. So I try to look for people that are smarter than me, and then I just do what they do. It's really pretty simple.
It's really easy for me to find people smarter than me. I mean, it's like
Me too.
I can find them everywhere. But it's about high self-esteem, guys. I mean, because low self-esteem dentists and managers and CEOs, they always hire young assistants that do what they're told. And really high self-esteem people always want to be the dumbest person in the room. I mean, I would never want to hire someone and then they're so dumb, I'm telling them how to do their job, I'm helping them, I'm micromanaging. I mean, it's the weirdest thing in management. If I find someone who's not very smart or good, I spend all my time managing and I look like a fool. If I find someone smarter than me, I don't have to do anything in management and I look like a genius. And
Right.
that and HR, it's the same thing in that football game yesterday. I mean, you can say it was the stadium and the fans and the coach and all that kind of stuff like that, but those players, especially those quarterbacks, make it happen. And if you get the best quarterback, like that kid, he was the youngest MVP. He was the youngest in the won a Super Bowl. I mean, Mahomes. And my God, if you get the best personnel, you don't have to manage them. You look like a genius and you win. And then if you get someone that you're always working with and you're always showing, so I always, when people ask me questions, I ask them, I say, okay, so you don't want to do your job, or you don't understand your job, or is this like mental therapy where you just bounce? I mean, where are you coming with this? Because what I think you're saying is you want me to pay you money and then me do the job. And where I'm thinking is I started this company and I'm going to die. And when Ray Kroc died, McDonald's didn't shut down. When Sam Walton died, Walmart did.
Right.
The founding father starts a company, and his job is to transfer that to a founding management team that's not dependent on anyone, and you can keep serving your customers as you go on and on. So everything in business is just HR. So I want to stay on implants for a while because. I mean, I feel like in life, it's not what you know, it's what you know and who you know. And my God, everybody that I know that's a mover and shaker knows you. Like Keystone, didn't Keystone just merge with Paltop? And you're a dental implant guru. So you knew that. So tell us what happened. Keystone and Paltop got married? Did
Something
they merge?
like that.
Is it did they merge the product lines, or is it just two separate? Is it like Danaher spun off their dental Invista, and Invista owns Implants Direct and Noble Biocare? When Keystone and Paltop got married, is it going to be like Noble Biocare and Implants Direct, two separate companies with the same mom and dad, or are they going to actually merge?
I think it's probably going to be more like that, like the same mom and dad company. I mean, Paltop has its own line, and Paltop is made in Israel, and they are supposed to have the absolute sterilest environment to make dental implants, and that's their claim to fame. And I think Keystone's looking to up their game, and they really wanted to be more than just a B player in the market. And right now, they're not Straumann, they're not, Nobel, and they want to get up in there and be recognized for what they do. And they have a really good product. I mean, I've been using their product for 7 years now. I've done some speaking for them, and I like it. I like their product a lot. It's been a quality implant, and I've used a lot of them. So, I think that's kind of where they're headed.
Okay, so I want you to put on your dad hat. Let's say your 25-year-old daughter just walked out of dental school, and she's $400,000 in debt. She wants to go learn implants, and she says, "Hey, Dad, there are 400 registered dental implant companies in the world, and at the every other year biggest dental meeting in the world in Cologne, Germany, they had, I think it was 175 or crazy number of implant companies. So is an implant an implant an implant? She doesn't have time to go figure out, all these systems. You've been doing it for a long time. Is titanium? Help her make this decision.
What I'd tell my daughter is, listen, not all titanium is the same. However, there's probably at least 20 reputable implant companies on the market. The last thing I want to do is put a piece of titanium in somebody's head that doesn't have some sort of reputation, and then have something go wrong with it, and then have him ask, oh, you put some kind of discount, crazy implant. I mean, I don't want to have that fight or that argument. So I think you need to pick a company that has reputation, and also one that's been around, that's going to provide, abutments and things like that in the future too. We've seen implant companies come and go, and then what do you do when the implant is no longer being manufactured and you need a new abutment, or you need to restore something? You've got to go with some sort of generic, or and then it's not even cost effective. So that would be my advice to my daughters: find an implant company that you somehow resonate with. Maybe it's their guided surgical kit's really easy to use, or you like the color. I mean, I don't care. Keystone, I have my own personal reasons why I like them, and why I've decided to use that as my main player implant in my practice. But I think it really just boils down to, as long as it's got a decent reputation and people are doing studies on the implants, and people that are in the know are using that implant and having success with it, that's what's important.
Okay, well,
and it can do what you want it to do.
I lectured in Israel, I think the week before Christmas, and I got to I went through that that company too. Why did you like Palatop Dental? And that's the one you're using. And by the way, I get no money for this. They don't even.
Me neither.
Well, Palatop and Keystone, that they got married though, right? That's the one we were talking about, right?
Right. So I was introduced to Keystone years ago when my rep came by, and really I was loyal to the rep. The rep was actually with Cybron. And so, Cybron went out, and then he was all of a sudden the rep for Keystone. I said, well, Rick and I get along really well. Rick, what do you got now? And show me your new titanium. And he showed me this Tylo. It's called the Tylo Mets. It's a larger diameter implant from 7 millimeters to 9 millimeters. And he said, why don't you try this on an immediate extraction for a molar? And I was like, man, I don't know. That thing looks enormous. I've never used anything that big. But I started following their protocol for immediate placement after extraction for molars. I had a lot of success with that. And I had happy patients, because we weren't talking about 2 different surgeries. It was one. So that's kind of how I got involved with Keystone. And I still use that implant today. I've used it. It's helped me in rescue implants in the posterior maxilla and mandible, and all on 4 cases and things like that. So I like it.
First of all, when I visited their facility, the thing that blew my mind was on the way. It was right next to Caesarea Maritime that King Herod the Great built in 25 BC. Can you imagine that? Wow. 25 BC. I mean, that thing was so cool. And it's like, how did they build this 2,000 years ago? I mean, it's like when you see the pyramids. But the thing that blew my mind at Palatop, which is now with Keystone, is when they took me, that woman dentist there, what was her name? Do you know the woman dentist? She's, what was her name? Oh, there it is. Michael Serbigal. Laurent.
I don't know.
But anyway, it blew my mind, because they're obsessed, what you said in the beginning, the cleaning protocol. And my God, it was so crystal clear to me that that when you make an implant, when you look at it at just 12 or 15x, there's all these titanium shards and all this crap all over crud that never gets cleaned up. I mean, if you autoclave it or sterilize it, you still have that crap there. And then that crap, if you magnify that, it's got eukaryotes, prokaryotes, and fungi on it. And they had this titanium cleaning deal, which they didn't invent. It comes from the military industry making satellite parts. So they knew they end up having to. I think the story was something like they were making a part for a military satellite company, and they just kept the tolerances for this military satellite are like 100 times more than healthcare. And if you think that's crazy, let me tell you the reality right here in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you go to the Intel plant, number one, you're not going to be able to get in. You got to have a friend of a friend, and it's got to be a patient. And when you go in there, you go into a locker room. You take off all your clothes, you shower, you put on a new deal, you put on a head breathing deal, all the things like that. And when they're making those Intel chips, they can't have a human hair or a piece of dust or you sneeze on a chip.
Right.
I mean, it is just like it was, I think the error is filtered down to, I don't think it's a part per billion, but it's pretty damn close. You know, it's like over a part per million. So then you get out, you leave there, and then you drive across the street to the hospital, Chandler Memorial Hospital, and here comes the cardiovascular surgeon, pulls up in a Porsche, and he gets out of the car with his Nikes on, and he walks through bird shit, dog shit, horse shit, rainwater, all the way to the elevator. He goes up there, and he washes his hands for half an hour and puts on gloves and says, okay, I'm ready to go. And anybody that works at Intel's like, oh my God, are you really going to work on me in these?
Right.
And why don't we just go to a barn and we'll tell the horse and the pig to move over? And then, so I've seen this with my own eyes, and it's just and then you learn that 300,000 Americans go into a hospital each year in America and don't come out alive from a disease that they didn't have when they went into hospital. So this killing machine, and then all through history, you go back to 1900, 1800, all the smart intelligentsia said, no, don't go to the asylum. Have the baby at home. You're sick. We'll take care of it at home. But if you go in there, you'll never come out alive.
Yeah.
And that's what they were telling me down there. They said, this stuff that dentists are placing in jaws, it wouldn't pass one military satellite protocol anywhere in the world. So then when they started showing me how they cleaned it, and then what that did to the success rate right out of the gate, the bone loss rate and everything, you realize, I'm not even talking about the shape of the implant, the size of the thread. We're not talking about anything like that. We're just talking about if you obsessively clean the holy living crap out of it so that when you go put it in the jaw, there's nothing in there that's foreign, eukaryote, prokaryote, fungi, metal shards, all this stuff. And it really blew my mind. So what, gosh, I mean, we've been upon implants a long time, but I'm really pro implant and clear aligner because that's the only fees that the insurance company's not setting. I know you're insurance free, but for the rest of the dentists out there, the implants and clear aligners is the only part of the market where they're not setting your fees. So if a 25-year-old, back to your 25-year-old daughter, just got out of dental school, how would you recommend that she gets into implants? Where would she start? What would step one be?
I don't know. I think carefully. First of all, there's a lot of programs out there. What I would steer her away from is anything that from the biological standpoint. So, I teach implants, but I teach more workflows and that sort of thing. And I leave the biology part to guys that sit in, small spaces and do research all day. Dr. Picos is well known for, what he does. And there's a lot of other implantologists out there that have a lot of knowledge. But I would say, somebody who places, I think the most important thing is when you want to learn about something, go to somebody who actually does it. If somebody's not doing it, then why are you listening to what they're saying? I mean, it's important to me to know that the people that I listen to and that I'm learning from actually do what I want to do. So I think that would be my first piece of advice, is make sure that you're not just listening to somebody who's getting paid to talk about something that doesn't have the experience with it. And then, secondly, just whatever's fun. I don't have a fellowship in any of these things. I've gone to a lot of different implant programs and a lot of different to learn implants and a lot of over the shoulder, and worked with an oral surgeon, actually 2 oral surgeons and a periodontist were probably the most helpful people in mentoring me in implants, because I just go to their practice and say, hey, I want to watch you for the next, 3-4 hours. Can you show me what you're doing and what's important? And that was really a great education in implants, was just watching these guys that had been doing it for years and years and listening to them and finding out, okay, how do you manage the problem with implants? I think that's probably the most important thing, is don't do anything. Don't start a fire you can't put out. If you can't manage problems with implants, then don't do them. But learn how to do that first, and then start, placing the implants.
So I'm going to do more websites. You're on a chromeguidedsmile.com website. What is chromeguidedsmile.com? And by the way, this is no commercials. No one's giving me a dime. That whole deal with Keystone Paladin, they've never even advertised with Dentaltown ever. It's just, my 4 kids are raised. They turned into grandkids. I don't have to hook for money anymore. I used to have to dance on poles, and I was a pole dancer and all that, but that was in dental school days.
I miss those days, hours.
But your name's everywhere. I mean, someone Googles your name. I mean, you really are a K. When someone says it's a KOL, I mean, the biggest companies are talking to you. And so what is Chrome Guided Smile?
Well, that's the thing I'm probably most excited about right now, because I was very interested in, about 5 years ago, I wasn't touching these cases, these all-on-4 cases, because I couldn't make any money at it. And profitability is huge for me. If it's not profitable, then I'm not doing it. So a friend of mine who's an oral surgeon said, you ought to look at what I'm doing with all-on-4 stuff. And I said, well, as long as you can put the implants in the right place, then maybe I can restore them. And, if I can come up with a way to make money at this, then I'd love to do it and make sure my patients are getting treated right. So that was my entry into the all-on-4 space. And as I got in, I started meeting more people that were doing this guided. And I met a guy out in LA, Jay Watson, who developed this guide system called Chrome. And before it was Chrome. So it's actually a metal guide system that helps dentists do all-on-4 surgery predictably. As long as they know how to do implants, they can predictably do this surgery, and then the results are phenomenal. And the workflow that we developed for it makes it so much easier. It's almost just like painting by the number. So I've had a couple of courses on this, and I get really good feedback from the dentists, because dentists like systems. They like being able to follow this system and get to the end and go, okay, I'm done, but just give me all the parts and line them up for me, and then boom. And that's what this does. So it fits with what dentists like. It makes us better clinicians. It makes us makes us help our patients better. It's more cost effective. It's efficient. All the things that I'm passionate about when it comes to dentistry. So,
and who did you say was the founder of that?
Jay Watson is the guy who developed the actual guide in the Chrome, and it's very much like there's other guides on the market. In Sequence by
Is
NDX.
Jay Watson a dentist?
No, he's not. He's an engineer. So it's always an interesting conversation when I have with Jay, because he's not a dentist, but he kind of thinks like a dentist. I mean, he's really passionate about people and making sure that patients get patients are getting the best care. And
well, man, I wish. Do you have one next to you? I mean, it's kind of like it's pretty damn cool looking. Do you have one?
I don't have one sitting here, but I can show you. I can tell you what. I can show you. Let me see if I can walk you over to.
I mean, it is a very, very cool thing.
This is the banner that was, this was in our course, and this right here is kind of what it looks like. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is the prosthetic. This is the interim prosthetic. This is the bone reduction guide that fits on the jaw, and then there's a little wafer in here, and then there's other metal parts that actually go and fixate into this platform. So again, it's kind of a step-by-step process that dentists can use to become, they can get in the all-on-4 space, and they don't have to be worried about, having a mess on their hands afterwards. So I really like it. And the other thing is you can work with specialists too. So you can be a restorative dentist and do this, a prosthodontist. If you follow the workflow, it's still very efficient, and then you're still going to get real predictable results, even if you have a surgeon and a dentist working together on something like this. So
I like it so much that I'm starting to develop some content for them. Basically, I'm trying to develop this workflow. We've developed it actually, a workflow that's simple for doctors to follow. And that's what I really enjoy teaching is the workflow, and then also marketing and helping dentists to find the patients. Because, big implant patients are not, an everyday occurrence in a dental practice. So you got to kind of go out there and hunt for them. And if you don't know how to market your practice properly, or you don't know how to market to these individuals, it makes it a lot harder. But if you're wired in with a marketing company or a marketing group that knows how to do this and knows what you're after, it makes it a lot easier. Plus, you have to learn how to talk to these people. It's a different animal. It's like someone that wants to go buy, a Hyundai versus somebody that wants to go buy, a top of the line Mercedes Benz. They're looking for two different things. The Hyundai owner just wants to get from point A to point B. The guy that buys the, $150,000 Mercedes, he's looking to make it. He's a different buyer, and that's kind of how dental patients can be too.
And what did you say you spend on marketing?
I'd have to look up last year's number.
But approximately, would you say 7%?
At least 7%. Yeah.
That is pretty. That's pretty cool. So you're obviously would much rather spend 7% and get these ideal patients you want, and basically what you want is what bigger, complicated implant patients.
I mean, I like those type of patients because it's so much easier to. Well, it's not the same old grind. So, I've been doing this. You've been doing this probably about 10 years longer than I have, Howard. I've been doing dentistry since 1996, and I'm kind of over putting in composites. I mean, nothing wrong with that, and God bless everybody that wants to do it. But, it's just we moved on to other things, and what really, cranks me now is getting these people that most dentists can't help or don't know how to help, and being able to reach out to those people and say, hey, listen, we got a solution for you. And they're so appreciative. I mean, these folks, you really changed their life. I mean, it sounds, kitschy and cliche, but I mean, that's why I want to get out of bed in the morning, is to help these people who really need it and don't have many alternatives. And, someone's got to do it. And I figure Clear Choice can do it, or we could do it. And if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And let's make sure we're responsible and we're safe, and, we're providing good service, but we're also getting paid for it.
You know what makes me want to get out of bed in the morning? I just want to get out of that van. You know what I mean? Down by the river. And but again, where does she go for training though? Where does she learn to place implants? So the system, you would say go Paladin, Keystone.
I mean, I think it's a viable system.
Well, would you say Keystone or Paladin? I mean, they're the same company, but which one do you like more? The Paladin or the Keystone?
I have more experience with Keystone, and I like the diversification. I like the ability to go from a 3.5 millimeter implant all the way up to a 10 with the same internal structures, and not have to worry as much about as many parts and pieces.
I'll tell you what though, no money, none of that, but when their PhD guy showed me this one experiment they do with the cleansing, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So when the water is running at like 1 millimeter, I mean, they can get it to 0.00 life formation colony units per centimeter squared, whatever the hell. Once the water stops moving, within a minute, you get your first colony formation. And I'm like, so what are you saying? And he's saying that when you take a little implant, just one little implant, it is absolutely impossible under any circumstance to have that not have any life form on it. I mean, there's just, in life, just amazing that you can go through this 48-hour process of cleaning an implant. And if you just do one thing, like stop the rinsing to where it's still water, that in 60 seconds, a colony formation unit is alive.
Yeah.
I mean, life is, I always say that, the pyramids were 5,000 years ago. And, we know our known knowns and we know our known unknowns, but we just have no idea what our unknown unknowns are. But I couldn't imagine that we're half the way towards understanding the universe. I mean, I bet it's 5,000 more years, because you just see something that bizarrely, weirdly creepy. So again, the implant system will say Keystone Paladin, but where would the training be?
I don't know. I mean, I think the Mish Institute has always been highly, respected. And when Mish was alive, I didn't ever have the opportunity to go to his institute, but I did hear him speak several times. It was really, I'm from Michigan, so I got to throw that out there. But I think some sort of program or some sort of organized program where you have a practicing dentist that really understands what's happening with the implants and the biology and the science and everything behind it, but also as a clinician. I just think that you need to be a clinician as well. And we get dental school is great, but a lot of the guys in dental school or women and men in dental school, they're not really practicing. And so I feel like I learned a lot more when I got out of dental school than when I was in dental school.
And who is the heir apparent, the heir to Carl Mish? I mean, as far as the greatest implantologist alive today, I believe it was Carl, and it was Carl. But you know who it is now? Who I think it is?
Yes, I don't know.
I think it's little brother Craig.
Okay.
Craig Mish at that mission. That guy is he's another level. It's not like he followed in his brother's footstep and he's like keeping up with his brother. I think in 2020, I think most people at that institute would say Craig's gone on further. I want to ask you one question as an adult that the kids are scared of is that when you do these big cases, some people have really big expectations. And when you're doing that extreme makeover and stuff, just because I'm 60 and I got a bunch of money and a Porsche and a Mercedes and get a boob job and a tummy tuck and a facelift, sometimes they just go in there and like, I'm going to write you a check and it's just going to make me, I'm going to have irrational expectations. How do you handle the psychology of these cosmetic cases, because a lot of cosmetic people are irrational? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think it's all in expectations, and you could easily find that out in the beginning. What we're doing a lot of is cosmetic imaging. So there's a lot of different things out there you can use. I like a company called Preview because it's online. It's a really super easy software to use, and it takes my team about a minute and a half to do it. So I used to spend hours doing cosmetic imaging with Dentrix Image, and then when that was not supported any longer, when Windows upgraded, I had to find something else. And so we got introduced to this Joanne with Preview, and I was sold because my team picked it up and they could do it within, like I said, a few minutes. They were doing this. So it's easy to use. It's user-friendly. Patients like it. At the end of the day, it's all about expectations. And if you hand a piece of paper with a patient's before and after simulation on it, a lot of times at that point you can find out, like, okay, am I headed the right direction? Or if they pick that apart, maybe you think twice about that type of case. Somebody told me a long time ago that if the patient takes a hand mirror and sticks it right up on their nose, that's the patient you want to send to somebody else.
That is hilarious. So you're talking about Joanne Villani?
Yeah, Joanne Villani, great gal.
The co-founder of Preview Software?
Yes.
I actually use an Etch-a-Sketch. But the problem is if the assistant walks in the room and bumps me, I lose my whole image.
It's gone, man.
It's gone. So that's the only thing against the Etch-a-Sketch. So the you don't ever fear some of these crazy people with their incredibly bizarre expectations?
I do, but I mean,
it does scare you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be careful. You have to be careful if you're going to swim with the sharks, But after years of doing this, you kind of develop I don't know, like a sixth sense sometimes about people. And the other thing is I rely on my team a lot. So it's not just me. I've got people that interview my patients before I ever meet them. During that new patient interview, a lot of times my team members will come back and say, hey, this one's you don't want to do this, or this one really needs your help.
And any low-hanging red flags that you look for in that? I mean, I got one that's never let me down, and that is when they talk to you like you're the almighty doctor, and then they talk down to the assistant, the receptionist. They talk. Whenever you see them treating you differently than subordinates, then they're out of balance, out of whack.
Yeah, those kind of folks aren't just cosmetic. You have those kind of people sometimes in your practice, and those are tough because you know what? My team is more important to me because I got to work with my team every single day, and that patient comes in twice a year, maybe.
Right.
I'm sorry, but sometimes you just have to know when to kick people off the island. And I mean, it's a sad thing, but you have to do it. But it's easy. You just go and you say, you know what? I just don't think it's a good fit for you. And I want to help you find somebody that's a better fit. And so I'm going to help you find a new dentist that will make you happy and a team that, you don't have to worry about frustrating you and all those sorts of things. And I'll just send you to my buddy down the street that,
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question which will definitely, I promise you, will make you enemies and get you kicked off the island. At least one island you get kicked off of. We get this question by young dentists to say, hey, I was told that all these laser bleaching things there's no reason for. And that there's just household bleach, there's over-the-counter bleaching, whatever. I asked you earlier, implants. Are you agnostic or implants? Same. You said there's about 20 I like. Same question for teeth whitening. Because back to the patient wagging the tail, some patients come in and say, well, I want to get my teeth laser bleached. And then you got some dentist who's, a biology freak who's in there in his bedroom reading the biology book saying there's no research for this. So then he doesn't want to be immoral and say, well, I'm not going to laser bleach your teeth I'm not going to drive up to Sedona and get a crystal and start wagging it over your head. So help him. I mean, he believes there's no research on laser bleaching. He believes, and this patient wants laser bleaching. What do you do? First of all, do you believe that any bleaching system is better than another? Are they all commodities? Talk bleaching.
I have to say I do think one is better than the other, and I have absolutely no ties, just like you. No ties to this company at all. But, you probably know Rod Kurthy down in San Diego.
Yes, and I do have a disclaimer for him. He is my drinking buddy. So
okay.
I want everyone to know that. But he great guy. Car guy.
Yeah, and when he came out with the idea, I think he saw this hole in the marketplace, I don't know, 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And, that was when Zoom was the most popular thing, and everybody complained because it hurt their teeth and it's sensitive and burned their gums off. And, Rod came out with Core, and that I resisted that product for a long time. And I finally had a patient talk me into using it, and I invested in that, and I've been really happy. We have a lot of patients that have had wonderful results with Core. So I think there is some science behind that. But, you can go to the mall and get your teeth whitened too. We saw that happen about 7-8 years ago. And it's great if you want to put carbamide peroxide on your teeth and get the stains off. Again, I think it really comes down to expectations. What does the patient want? Do you want to help the patient get something where if the patient says, hey, I want my teeth whitened, I want them laser whitened or whatever, fine, help them laser whiten their teeth. If that's what they want, just make sure that the expectations are not that their teeth are going to look like, chiclets after you do that, unless you want to invest in one of Rod's Core products or something like that. And then you can do something that's going to be.
So what did Rod, he's a good friend of mine. I love him to death. I don't quite remember all that he was telling me, but was it refrigeration? Was it refrigerated around the clock until, was that his big secret sauce for the most part?
I think that's most of it, or a big part of it. It comes to your practice in this, a cooler. and you open it up and like a cloud of smoke comes out because it's on dry ice. But yeah, he's real careful about his product and how it's handled. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But, you know, they make their trays, it's a high quality tray too. That the people that are making those are doing a really good job, and they're not sloppy about it. So you're not getting bleaching material up underneath the necks of the gum into the sulcus, and so the sensitivity isn't as high, and it does great. I mean, we've seen tetracycline stained teeth. I had a conversation this afternoon with a patient about this, but we had a tetracycline stained teeth that just came up to a beautiful color, 1M1 or something higher than that even. So yeah, I think it works great. And I don't know Rod personally. I've been watching him and following him for 20 years when he was doing, what was it? Air abrasion back in the day. I mean, that was a big thing with Rod. And then he came out with the core, and I think it's great. I think it's a great product.
I love Rod. I think he's a great man. But I was trying to labs. You know, there's low cost labs, there's high cost labs. 50% of all dentists did a case with Glidewell last year, and they did 7% of the total industry. There's about 3 labs that each do 5, 4, 3% of labs. Is a lab, or what are your thoughts on labs?
Well, my thought is you need to have a relationship with your lab. You know, it's just like it's a partner. It's a partnership. It's like part of your team. And if you have a lab that communicates well and you're happy with your lab, great. And if they're fair with what you're paying, I mean, you know, I think your lab bill should be, there percentages of what your lab should be of your collections. And as long as you stay within that framework, so be it. If you want to spend a lot less on your lab, and then don't have as high expectations. But if you're happy with that partnership, and you've got someone who's servicing you and providing good quality product, that's what you do. That's who you go with. I mean, I used 4 or 5 labs at one time to do different things for me, because I felt like, you know, this lab did a better job with this service. This lab did a better job with that service. But you just it starts with a relationship. You know, you find somebody you can trust, somebody that's fair, and they're going to deliver a quality product to you, and they're not going to let your patients down. So that's the most important thing, I think.
Last question, and it's going to start with your first question, and that is, on your bio, you said the thing that you were most proud of is that the team you created. And whenever I meet a little stud puppy like you, you always got the most amazing team. Yet when they come out of school, and I lined up 100 kids at a dental kindergarten, and I say, what stresses you most? It's going to be the staff, managing the staff, and then second, it's going to be the patients. That's why I was asking you about managing patient expectations. So you've been doing this for a long time. She's 25. She just bought a practice from a guy my age or so, and she just coughing up blood clots when it comes to HR people, and she doesn't know what makes her more miserable, her own staff or her own patients. How do you go from 25 to 60? What's that new car show they advertised during the Super Bowl? Kyle, what's that car show where they have like 9 Fast and Furious? Yeah, so be fast and furious. How do you take her from 5 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour in a Christian toothpaste Yates kind of way?
The first thing I would have that person do is sit down and develop their core values. So, and actually the first thing I do is have you read a book, Delivering Happiness. It's the story of Zappos. So I don't know if you've read that book, Howard, but that book changed how I looked at my team and how I looked at my business, actually. And it defines what culture should be in a business, at least to me. So for me, it was, okay, I had to define what my core values were, what my mission statement was, what my vision statement was. And when we got all that down, it was easy, because people would come in and they could tell, like, is this a good fit for me? Well, here's what the vision of the practice, here's the values that we live by. If you fit into that, you're going to work out just great. And if you don't, it's not going to work out. So it's real easy when you start doing that to start that culture. And once you have a good culture, people want to work for you. They want to help you. It's so much more pleasant. I mean, I've been at the worst. I've been at the bottom, and I've been at the top when it comes to this. And at the bottom, it's miserable. So I get it. I've been there. I had a team that left. Our whole entire team minus one person, so 12 people walked out in about a 12-week period of time at one point in my career, which is a whole nother story in itself. But right now we have 28 people, and I tell you, I love coming to work. There's no drama for me. These people are my family, and they know it, and we have a real team. One of my good friends, Tony Feck, told me, he said, we don't have staff. Staff is an infection. We have a team. So that's kind of how I look at it is, these people are part of my team. I love them. They really help me grow as a dentist. And, it reminds me every day, it's not about me. It's about the people in the relationships I have with the people that work with me. That's what's really important.
And when you get to a point where you have a staff mutiny and people walking off, would you say that it was because there was a toxic person left on the team too long?
I would say that happens a lot, and sometimes you have to look at that toxic person as being yourself. I mean, that's what it came down to for me. Was I was the one that was toxic. So, but yes, there can be people that are toxic, but in a culture where you have all that framework put together, those toxic people end up walking away. The team gets rid of them. You don't have to, because the team will get rid of them.
Wow. And that Zappos book was the Delivering Happiness was the ticket.
Yeah, for me, that was kind of game changer. That's really what got me thinking around how my business could be more fun to come into and how I could provide more value, not just to my patients, but to all these people that work with me. And, they spend an enormous amount of time with us. So they are the most frustrating things in our lives. But at the same time, they can be, some of the most wonderful relationships could be with the people that you work with. And, we spend so much time together. Why not make it a good time and not have to worry about drama and stress and all that other garbage? I mean, that's what creates the burnout that we suffer from in dentistry.
That was really, really profound. And you're probably thinking that I'm going to let you off the hook there, but I still have one last question. Patient Magnet Systems, a niche marketing for dentists that delivers new patients with predictive and consistent results. You're a big-time marketer. A lot of kids might look at him and say, wow, he spends a lot of money in advertising. Well, Warren Buffett says never go into a business if someone else is setting your fee. And when your mom and dad decided to join up that PPO, they lowered their fee 35% without blinking. And they don't advertise, and now this guy is keeping his fee, but he's spending 7%. And since you're an expert in marketing, and because you're a rare bird, almost everyone takes. I mean, 95% of the dentists take Delta Dental, which is a PPO. So Delta tells you your fees, 95 and 100 take it. So you're a very rare bird, and you're doing this very rare niche marketing for dentists with a patient magnetism. PatientMagnetSystem.com. PatientMagnetSystem.com. Tell us about that.
It's kind of the brainchild, but basically it's the brainchild of my partner outside of my practice, which I do some entrepreneurial stuff with. One of the things we had to do is we had to find the right people. Someone came to me a couple of years ago and said, what are you doing to get all these patients? I said, well, we just kind of got this really pretty good group of people that we're working with. And so I just said, well, Matthew, you go tell them what we're doing. And so we developed, we came up with this patient magnet system, and he pretty much runs that, and I use it, and it works in my practice. So we're able to attract the right people, and it's been successful. And there's a lot of different marketing companies out there. And, Howard, probably most, a lot of these companies can do the exact same thing. It's a matter of digitally anyway. It's a matter of doing the right amount of AdWords and having a website that's responsive and all these different things. We're being in the social space, whether that's Instagram or Facebook or both or whatever. But there's not a lot of new under the sun. It's who does it the best really depends on, like, the thing I like about Patient Magnet System is they hold themselves accountable. So when I get on the phone with them every 2 weeks, they go, hey, how's it going? Let's look at your numbers. Let's see how you're doing. Let's, measure this. Let's use science and not just go, oh, well, last month, the moon was in a different phase, and so your marketing wasn't that great. There's none of that BS. It's just like, hey, this is how it went. Let's change course. We need to course correct. We need to do this or that. And I like that. That's what works for me, is knowing that my marketing company's actually paying attention to it and that they're concerned about it. And if I'm not doing well, they're losing sleep. So that makes me feel better about using them.
Well, I'm mostly excited about that. You promised me an hour, and I was able to keep you on the phone for an hour and a half. Hey, no, really, it's just so damn cool that I can get guys like you to come on this show and talk to little kids coming out of dental school it's the end of your day. You're tired. The bartender's probably calling the police right now saying, is he okay? Did he wreck his car? They're probably calling hospitals right now to see if you're alive. But no, seriously, you're a legend. And at the end of a long day, to come on my show and talk to my homies, I can't tell you what an honor it was. And thank you for sharing all this information, and thank you for all that you've done for dentistry.
Well, listen, Howard, I want to tell you something, because, I wouldn't be sitting here probably if it weren't for people like you that influenced me early on in my career. Because I remember when Dental Town had 5 people on it or whatever. I was one of the first people looking at that forum going like, what is this? And that community helped me start to understand the power of networking and the power of communicating with dentists outside of my own, area. And it changed my career. It changed my life. So I appreciate so much what you've been able to do for dentistry too. And I'm not just trying to butter you up here. I honestly mean that. You've done a lot. You've got a long resume of success, but Dental Town was an enormous help to so many of us who back in the late 90s and early 2000s were kind of like, what do we do? Young dentists. So thanks again for all you do. I appreciate the podcast and what you're trying to help these younger dentists. And I feel that way too. I'm proud to be a mentor to several dentists, and that's what we need to do, is support these people, support these young dentists so that they can carry the legacy on and continue to treat patients the way we would want to be treated.
You said you weren't trying to butter me up, but I do believe that if we quit using amalgam and only use margarine, dentistry would be a better place. Hey, but one last note on what he said, though. What was so cool about Dental Town is, when we started Dental Town in '99, Facebook was until 4 years after. It was 2004, and now it's just social media. And some people are saying that, teledentistry is a big thing now, but in 5 years it'll just be dentistry. He was saying that e-commerce, was a big deal. Now it's just commerce. But what you said that's so important is that when you live on a planet with 8 billion people, it's not what you know, it's what you know and who you know. And the people who get the most done, they go out there and press the flesh, run for mayor with their customers, their value chain. To sit there on Dental Town and take chop shots at Delta, and you don't even know who the Delta CEO is. You never even met him. I've had dinner with the Delta CEO of Arizona. It's just the third day of February. I've already met him twice this month. When I have problems with something, I go talk to my homies. You know what I mean? And so get out there and press the flesh. And you're right, dentistry is the most amazing. You can be stuck in any country in the world. Ask me how I know. And look up a dentist or walk into a dental office and tell them what's going on, and you're immediately invited into their home. They're taking you to dinner. My sister's daughter lost her wallet in Ireland, and it was a panic at my sister's house. I go to Dental Town. I just make a post. My aunt or my niece told her what happened and posted her cell phone number. She had like 5 dentists called her within an hour. Every one of them, yeah, you and your 3 friends just come stay at my house. You don't need your wallet. We'll get you money. We'll take you to dinner. I mean, this dentist in Ireland, I mean, her and her 3 girlfriends basically stayed in his house for the rest of the trip. And, dentists are just damn cool. But hey, thanks. Someday we should start the Mutual Admiration Club. There'll just be 2 people, and we'll just meet and admire each other all day.
That sounds awesome.
All right, buddy. Thanks again for coming on the show. Hope you have a rockin' hot night.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it. You too.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.